hours. So this is a multi-step problem. We got to figure out how much she gets paid for overtime. Then we got to figure out the total amount she gets paid for her 40 hours, how much she gets paid for the overtime hours total, and then we got to add those together. So lots of steps. Go ahead and see what you can figure out. Yay! Those are also things I love to hear. Oh, I've got it. Makes a math teacher's heart kind of go, whoo. Okay. So how do we figure out how much she gets paid for, or total, for 40 hours a week? Times what by 10? 40. Yeah, 40 hours a week times 10. That gives you $400. That's the regular pay. How do we figure out, Angela, how much she gets paid for overtime?
You multiply however much she makes in that week times 1.5.
Okay, so she makes $10 per hour times 1.5. So that's $15 an hour for overtime. So then she worked 5 hours of overtime. Well, what's 5 times 15?
25.
Yep. Then we just add those two up. So she made $475 gross pay for that week. Example 6. Samantha worked her 40 regular hours last week, plus 7 overtime hours at the time and half rate. Her gross pay, was $611.05. What was her hourly rate? Oh man, that's like a problem. All right. So write down those things: the 40 regular hours, the 7 overtime hours, and then her gross pay was $611.05. And then I'll walk you through how to solve this problem. Okay, I'm going to call R to be the regular hourly rate before the overtime and all that stuff. And so what do you do when you have the regular hourly rate and regular hours? How do you figure out how much she gets paid for those regular hours? Like say you made $10 an hour and you worked 30 hours. How do you figure out how much you get paid? What do you do with those numbers? Yeah, multiply. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, 40 times R. And then she worked 7 overtime hours. But that's not just R. She got paid time and a half for that. So that's 1.5 R. So 7 hours times 1.5 times the rate. And that equals 611.05. Now we have an equation to solve. What would I do first to solve this equation?
You multiply 1.5 R by 7.
Yes. So I have 40R plus 10.5 R equals 611.05. Good. Now what?
And 40R and 10.5.
Yeah. Combine like terms. Add those two up. You get 50.5 R equals 611.05. Then what?
Divide by 50.5.
Yep. What'd you guys get? Yep. So that means that the hourly rate is $12.10 an hour. That was a lovely problem. I really liked it. Okay. I'm going to post your work here in a minute. I'm pretty sure this is the last page. Oh, I lied. No, I'm not. Hold on. Okay. Example 7. Last week, Saul worked, okay, this is one that's going to be just in variables. Saul worked R, regular hours, and T, overtime hours, again, at time and a half. He earned a total of 700. X is his hourly rate. Express X in terms, that should say of R and T. It's basically what we just had, only we're plugging in letters instead of numbers. I'll give you a second to write down what you need there, and then we'll do this one together. Pretty sure this is the last problem. Yeah, should be. I was pretty sure the last one was too. Oh. Let's come back here. I know what this is. Homework quizzes you can keep. If you have questions, just ask me. Okay, so using what we had up here, we took 40 times R. 40 was the regular hours and R was the rate. So for this one, R is her regular hours and X is the rate. Then we took the overtime hours times 1.5 times whatever the rate was. So plus T hours times 1.5 R. And that should equal how much he earns. Nothing wrong with leaving it like that. A lot of times, though, we put the number in front. That's all we can do. So basically, you follow the exact same thing we did before, only we're just putting letters in there. There's actually less work. These should be actually easier. Should be. Okay, that is actually it. So let's stop there. Anybody have any questions on their homework quiz? Okay. Well, if you end up having questions on it, it just came directly from the homework that you did. So look back at the homework.